Good morning. We are here today for a solemn obligation that we have in collective memory as a community to never forget, to declare as a county and as a community, never again, and to be with survivors and second and third generation family members of Holocaust survivors who in their daily lives today and every day are carrying out one of the greatest acts of defiance against one of the worst forms of human hatred we have ever witnessed. And so we come together as a community to acknowledge that if we had a minute of silence for each of the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators during the Holocaust, we would be standing here for more than 11 years. That is the depth and the weight of the burden that the survivors carry, that their children carry, that their grandchildren carry. And yet, each moment, each day, living their lives, that very act of survival, that very act of living is an act of defiance, is a light amid the darkness. With that, let me turn it to my colleague, Councilmember Katz.
Thank you very much, Council President. Following the atrocities the world witnessed on October 7th, remembering the Holocaust has taken on an even new meaning. As we know, the Jewish community in Montgomery County has seen a dramatic increase in anti-Semitism, including in our public schools. There is no place for hatred. There is no place for Jewish hatred, and no justification for anti-Semitism. Three generations after the Shoah, we must ensure that Jewish life flourishes in public spaces. As we mark the 81st anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, we remember the 6 million Jewish women, men and children, and all other victims murdered during the Holocaust. I want to thank the Anti-Hate Task Force cohort, especially the Jewish Anti-Hate Task Force, for their work, especially in advocating for advanced education in their schools on the Holocaust, understanding the past and its impact on our present as their best path forward towards diminishing hate and bullying. The Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington, JCRC, will hold its annual Holocaust commemoration on May 5th at 2 p.m. virtually. We must continue to work together to combat anti-Semitism in all forms and promote awareness and tolerance. Our duty is to make sure the memories of victims and lessons of the Holocaust are never forgotten or repeated. Never again is now. Thank you.
When we talk about the Holocaust, we say never forget. And I will never forget the fact that my grandfather, Melvin Weissman, may his memory be a blessing, was a prisoner of war in Stalag 17. Shot down while he was fighting for his country and his people. And when he was in a Nazi prison camp, they tried to figure out whether Melvin Weissman was a Jew. They couldn't figure it out. And so after 19 months, he was liberated by the Russians. But in that camp and in countless camps around Europe, people of the Jewish faith wore yellow stars. I think about the hatred that exists today and the fact that if that hatred were to penetrate to the point that it once did decades ago, I would have a yellow star. I'd have a pink triangle. Some of us might have insignia of other colors, be it brown or red. as a way to detract, as a way to dehumanize. And now more than ever, we have to stand up to hate, wherever it is, whatever it looks like, whoever it is against. The world is full of too much hate, not only around the globe, but here at home. And so coming together today, coming together every day, is the only way to combat hate, to spread love, and to say never again.
We are just months after the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, so today's commemoration takes an additional meaning. We're honored to be here with Ed Godin, who will be speaking in a moment, who's accepting the proclamation today on behalf of his late mother, Nessie Godin. We also have Manny Mandel and Peter Gorig, who are here, two survivors. I also want to acknowledge many of the second generation and third generation are here, including Manny's daughter, our own Lisa Mandel Trupp, and grandson Zach Trupp. And we have Jacob Tenenbaum, our clerk's father, who's here as well, who was born in a displaced persons camp. With that, let me turn it over to one of our speakers today, who's going to be accepting this officially, Ed Godin.
My mom, Nessie Godin, attended all of these programs because she thought it was very important that she show the community that she cares. I wish she was here to be able to enjoy this wonderful program proclaiming the Day of Remembrance. Unfortunately, after a long battle with dementia, she passed away over a month ago. As many of you know, Nessie spent her entire adult life speaking and teaching the lessons of the Holocaust. She would say, "Teach the world to respect everyone that the Lord, by whatever name you call him, the Lord in heaven created. And when we see a wrong, we shouldn't look away. We should be there for each other." On behalf of my mom and the 6 million Kedoshim and all of the survivors that are here and have been here in the past, we want to thank the Montgomery County Council for this proclamation and the JCRC for continuing their efforts to ensure that the world never forgets. Thank you.
Now I'm going to ask my colleagues, council members Katz and Glass, to join me in reading the proclamation. Whereas the Holocaust was the state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jews by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. Jews were the primary target of the genocide. 6 million were murdered. However, other ethnic and religious groups also were victimized and killed. And
whereas pursuant to a 1980 act of Congress, the United Holocaust Memorial Council designates days of remembrance each year to recall and reflect on the horrific crimes committed during the Holocaust and to ensure that the memory and legacy of those who were murdered will never be forgotten. And
whereas we have a collective responsibility to those who perished as well as to those who survived, to educate current and future generations and rededicate ourselves to teaching the history of the Holocaust and explaining its continued impact on the world. And
whereas, as our ability to learn firsthand from survivors will soon be impossible, we must ensure that their stories are shared and documented, and that we continue to educate young people so they can carry the history forward for future generations, so that this unthinkable chapter of inhumanity is not doomed to repeat itself.
And whereas those who survived the Holocaust are an inspiration to us all, and their descendants are living proof that love and hope can triumph over hate and violence, and it takes every one of us to recognize anti-Semitism and condemn it in our community. And
whereas on Sunday, May 5th, 2024, the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington will host a virtual community-wide Holocaust Remembrance commemoration, Yom HaShoah, to honor the lives of the 6 million Jews killed and the survivors and liberators among us, and to call to mind their courage, forbearance, and strength. And
whereas anti-Semitism has spanned for millennia, and unfortunately it persists today, with anti-Jewish hate and bias incidents alarmingly at an all-time high, and 74% of U.S. adults surveyed saying anti-Semitism is a very serious or somewhat serious problem. And
whereas the council unanimously passed a resolution on November 1st, 2022, to address and combat anti-Semitism, pledging to support Jewish residents who make up 10% of the county's population. And
whereas Montgomery County is home to one of the largest Jewish diasporas in the United States, and we must ensure that hate has no home here. And all of our Jewish friends, families, and neighbors, we want them to feel safe to practice their religion wherever in the county they may be.
now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby recognizes Tuesday, April 16th, 2024, as Holocaust Remembrance Day, Yom HaShoah, in Montgomery County. And be it further resolved that all residents are urged to recommit themselves to not bear silent witness to injustice and to always remain vigilant to the principles of a just society, presented on the 16th day of April in the year 2024 by myself as Council President, Councilmembers Katz and Glass, and the entire Montgomery County Council.